I'm just such a fan of courage and overcoming fear. And one reason is because it's important for results. If we want to make more money, want more time off, we want better relationships, we want a better life, we need to find our courage. And the other reason is I want everybody that when that time finally comes and we're on our deathbed and we're looking back over our life, I want us to be able to say, I gave it all. I gave it everything. I didn't play small. I didn't let fear run me. I didn't take stupid risks like driving without a seatbelt. That's just stupid. There's no profit in it. Or riding a motorbike without a helmet. I wasn't stupid, but I took risks. I risked looking silly. I risked hearing no. I never let that stop me. That I want people to have that sensation that they fully gave everything.
I love that. And I think that it is so important. And I've definitely been through my own journey when it comes to courage. And I think a lot of what we need to do is address our childhood wounds and step into whatever fear they've generated, because oftentimes that really is where our calling is. They're actually hints and way showers. So for instance, in my history, because you probably know this, growing up in Australia, it was a little wilder and less politically correct than I think it has been here in the US. And so for me, I had a teacher who taped my mouth shut with sticky tape twice and sat me in front of the classroom for an hour or so with my mouth taped shut. And so for me, one of my growing edges, somewhere where I really have to muster up a lot of courage, is to speak, to be seen and heard, to do things like go out and give public speeches, to do things like have this podcast where I'm seen and heard, because there's still part of me where there's that little girl that's going, warning, Will Robinson, warning, this isn't a safe thing to do. What's an example out of your life, David, where you've really had to muster some courage?
When I did the Landmark Forum and then the subsequent courses, they were really big on completing your past. So finding out where you've got charged with someone you resent, someone you hate, or maybe even someone you felt guilty that you did something to them, kind of like 12-step programs.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine they're like, go and confront that stuff. And I said, hell no. Um, I had to make a list of everybody from my past that I didn't like or resented or hated. And one of them was a bully from high school. And we used to be friends. And then he kind of pushed me around a bit and would one up me in class. And I just always lost in that interaction and felt humiliated. And the coach said, all right, call him. I'm like, no, no, I'm not. Are you kidding me? And she said, why? And I said, I'm worried he's going to think I'm a complete idiot for calling him 20 years later and the fact I've been holding on to this and whatever. And she said, then lead with that. And that gave me access to calling him. I'm like, I could do that because that was true. And I
Mm-hmm.
called him and I said, I'm so worried you're going to think I'm a complete idiot for calling you after all this time. And that really worked. He was very open. He said, oh, well, tell me, what do you got? What's going on? So I told him, I just shared my experience and I said, look, I'm letting it go. And I just wanted to let you know, I don't need anything from you. And he said the most amazing thing. And this is a guy I'd hated for years. He said, what could I say or do now to help us move forward? And it
Wow.
was transformational for me because in my matrix of thinking, this
Mhm.
guy was a jerk. And now it's like, wow, he's a caring human being. So there's one example of and that was one of the harder conversations I've ever had to have. I've had harder ones.
Mhm.
Some I speak about publicly, some I don't. I keep private, but really terrifying relationships. One that could have sent me to prison for
Wow.
something I'd done, even though I was a minor at the time. Minors can still be prosecuted sometimes. So I went and confessed to someone. I said, I'm sorry. How can I make this right? I could have been prosecuted. So I've really faced some scary ones. Now, people listening, I'm not saying you should go this far. I didn't do this overnight. It took me a long time. It took me a lot of coaching to get to the point. And I've realized, there are still some things that I may not be willing to do because there may not be enough upside in it. But I'm here to encourage you to have more of those conversations, because I think 9 times out of 10, there will be some profit in it. And maybe financial profit, but growth profit, there'll be
Mhm.
something for you. Even if it doesn't go well the first time, you might have round 2 the next week. Hey, can I have another shot at that? I don't think I had a good job. So I think this came from the fact that I did let fear run me as a kid.
Mhm.
And I didn't stand up to the bullies, and I didn't ask out the women that I wanted to ask out. And I felt small, and I've regretted the things I didn't do. So
Mhm.
now when there's fear and I'm like, oh, I'm scared of that, I try and look for a way. What's a way that I could at least take a step towards it so that fear isn't running the show? And I want that for everybody.
I love that. And I especially like your hint there. Really, this is like if anyone takes something away from this conversation, that piece about, okay, you're going to have a conversation with someone and you're worried about what it is that they might think, opening with what you anticipate they will think. That is a really great hint for how to go about initiating one of those conversations. And then the
Yeah.
other thing that inspired me about what you were saying there too, it reminded me of a quote that I used to have up on my wall. I don't need to have it on my wall anymore because it's so ingrained. And it's that regret for the things you did can be tempered by time. It's regret for the things you did not do that's inconsolable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there are some things I wish I could take back that I've done, but I think there's a much higher list of, oh, what if I'd at least tried? What if
Mm,
I'd at least asked? And in a business sense, is there a celebrity that you'd like to ask to endorse your product, or a celebrity that you'd like on your podcast? Or are there, there must be at least 10 people you can think of who might make great customers or clients that you could call up and ask. There's so many different ways we can find our edge and ride our edge
mm.
in our relationship. Are there some confessions you could make and take a risk for the chance of getting closer to that person? Is there a reveal you could make about yourself? So, something that you don't. I'm on a dating app right now, and what I offer on the dating app is I say, hey, if you reach out, I'll give you a profound question. And so sometimes women write and they're like, I want my question. I want my profound question.
I love
And
that.
so just yesterday, I wrote back to someone. I said, okay, what don't you want me to know about you?
Ooh, that's getting juicy right there.
Yeah, it was great. And she, that'll sometimes send people running, or it'll bring people
Mhm.
closer. And
Yes.
she shared that about how deeply competitive she is and how embarrassed she is, and she's trying to work on it. But that's a part where she has some shame. I'm like, thank you. I like knowing that about you.
Mm.
So there's so many different ways we can find our edge and find our courage. And again, I'm not, look, here's an exercise that I highly recommend. You grab a piece of paper and a pen and write up the top, what would I do if I was fearless?
Such a
And you
good
can have
question.
maybe on one side of the page, you write everything in your business, what you would do if you were fearless. And then the other side could be in your relationships. What would I do if I was fearless? And you don't go and do it all overnight, but you might want to circle a few things. I like to say, what if you were just 30% more courageous
Mm,
for the next 30
mhm.
days? Try it on and see what that's like. Hey, you'll stumble. You'll skin your knee from time to time. You might get some people mad at you. But as they say, if you got no one who's mad at you, then you're not truly living.